Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 226.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? It's Mama Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to Parent Entrepreneur Power. Let me tell you today, I am feeling so powerful. And I get to chat with and share that power and share the microphone with an amazing person today. And I'm going to introduce you to her. Her name is Julie Broad, and she is the founder of Book Launchers. Hey there, Julie. How you doing?
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
You are very welcome. Thanks for sharing the microphone and here in a minute, sharing your story. That's really what we're here for, because all of us, our lives, that's all they are stories. And what a perfect segue into books. I mean, come on.
So true.
Yeah, I love talking about this subject. I love writing. I love reading. Life is good. Anyway, so tell us your once upon a time story. Tell us how you got into this whole parenting and entrepreneur gig. I mean, which came first, the kids or the business?
Business by a long shot.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by a long shot. 2001 was kind of when I started my entrepreneurial journey, and I started by buying real estate. That was what got me in. And it was really a realization after working for somebody else for, 6 months, that I thought, this is going to be a really long life of working for somebody else. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I thought, I'm just going to create a plan B. And so that was real estate. And so I started investing, and by 2008, which was terrible timing, market-wise, but in 2008, I left my job and went full-time real estate and started a real estate training and education company as well. So long journey, because it wasn't until 2016 that I got pregnant.
Aha, yeah.
Yeah, so the parent part was very much secondary, but interestingly, I changed businesses, and some of that was driven by becoming a parent. So I'd been running a training and education company, which meant I traveled all over the place. I was speaking all of the time, and which I loved. And I thought, this is not going to be a great life when I have a baby, and I want to be there for my kids, not be on the road all the time. And, lots of things had happened. And I thought, I want to create a service business, not a training company where I'm teaching people. I want to have a team who, if I need to be with my child for a day, my team is taking care of the clients, and it's not me. And so that's really, the personal reason behind the creation of Book Launchers, which is what I started officially in 2017.
Wow. Okay. So all right, hang on a minute. How did you go from real estate to books? Okay. I got to get a transition. You got to bridge me there.
Yeah, for sure. So I wrote and published a book in 2013, a real estate investing book, and I did it for a lot of reasons. Kind of probably the typical reasons. I had a really important message that I wanted to share, which was not how to get rich in real estate. Rather, it was like, there's a storm of problems you could face if you do the wrong things in real estate, and you should know that, not just that there's money in real estate. And so that was really I really wanted to have that message out there. And of course, I was also running two different companies, a real estate investment company and a training company, where, having more people who knew who I was only going to stand to benefit. So I originally was going down the traditional publishing route, but they ended up rejecting me. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm so grateful I got rejected, but it didn't feel like it at the time. It took me about a year to recover from an ego perspective, after they rejected me, because they didn't even reject my book idea. They rejected me. They said, we don't think you can sell enough books. That's what they said.
Great.
So the fun part of that story is that my real estate book, I took it to #1 overall on Amazon. So ahead of Dan Brown, ahead of the Game of Thrones series as a print book. So yeah, I crushed.
Isn't that the best revenge? That is the best revenge, proving someone wrong.
so wrong. So that was wonderful. And through that though, to achieve that kind of a success with a self-published book, I had to learn so much, and I learned so much about the industry. I learned all the things that can go wrong, all the things you have to do right, and with that kind of success, a lot of people started asking me questions. So I actually, on the side, had been helping a lot of friends, even with friends with traditional published deals, like friends that got deals with Wiley that I didn't get. I was actually helping them because Wiley and other publishers weren't doing the things that they thought they would do to support these authors. And so they were coming to me going, okay, well, can you content edit this? Because I don't agree with what they did. Can you, and so for years, I helped people that I knew with their books and loved it. Loved it. Real estate was something I did because it was there and it was a backup plan, and it was just, it just was there. But books I've loved since I was a kid. I've loved writing. I've loved the whole process. So yeah, the transition is that this is like that little kid who's been tugging on your coat and you've been ignoring him. It was just there. And so, I put it all together and formed what I do today.
And it sounds like sounds like real estate served your purpose at the time. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't necessarily what was going to serve you moving forward when your life was changing.
Exactly. I mean, I'm still an investor. We still have property. I'm so grateful for it. It's allowed us to make transitions like this. Mm-hmm. But teaching people how to do it. And,
Yeah, that's it. It's a transition. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean really, we've all heard of seasons of life and all those kinds of things, but really there are seasons. And I know very few people. My husband and my father-in-law are two of them, who basically they are two of the only people that I know that have done the same thing since they graduated college.
Wow. Yeah.
My father-in-law is in his 80s, and he's still working at the same thing that he learned when he was in his 20s. Wow. My husband's the same way. Everyone else I know has changed. Mm-hmm. And adapted.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's a season. That served you at the time, but your life was changing. Your kids were coming in and you said, hey, I don't want this life when I bring kids in. It doesn't mean it's a bad life. It just means it's not going to fit the picture I have for my family. And of course, we all have pictures for our family that are very distorted before we actually have kids. Right? I mean, we think we've got it all figured out.
I thought I would sleep more. I know that.
Oh, yeah, no. That just is gone. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. And then right when you start sleeping, they become teenagers, and that's when you need to have one eye open. So anyway, we won't talk about that. But so it didn't serve you. I saw the bridge. I got it. And I got to tell you, you did it right. So I started a company back in 2011 or 12. And it was called Help Me Self-Publish.
Okay, cool.
And it was because of the same exact reasons. I self-published a book. I didn't get it to number one on Amazon. I will not cop to that at all. But I knew how to do this, and I knew how to do it well. I knew systems. I knew marketing. I knew all those things. And so people started asking me, how did you do that? Mm-hmm. And I started that business, and it was definitely the wrong business for me, because it wasn't what I really wanted to do. It was really just something to do after the 2008 crash, because I went through similar, not in real estate, but in retail,
right.
In 2008. So you did it right. You got it to number one. You tested yourself out with the marketing side in addition to the tech part, right? Because there is a certain tech component to self-publishing.
Yeah. For sure. And for me, the other thing was that I didn't want to be the smartest person in my company. So
right.
I hired, I actually don't, I guide things, of course, I contribute, but, I hired an Emmy nominated writing coach who helps everybody work on their book ideas. I hired a PR specialist who's, worked as a literary booking agent for 10 years. So, my team, I hired and that's where real estate really comes in, because I could sell some properties to fund this, to actually hire an amazing team right from the start. So, that's the really good side of this. But yeah, I mean, as much as, yes, I know what I'm talking about to a point, I don't know anything compared to my team.
Yeah. And that's the best way to do it. I'm telling you, I had to learn a lot of lessons along the way. And one of them was, that's not what I want to do. And it's not the way I want to do it. So, so kudos to you. That's fantastic. So when did you said 2014 was it when you started this company, or was it 16? I'm sorry.
No, I got pregnant in 2016 and started this company in 2017.
2017. Got it.
Yeah.
So so it's it's relatively new then. How like a year from the time that we're talking?
Yeah, I have 2 babies, really.
Yes. And I got to tell you, lots of people, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Lots of people start their families and their businesses at the same time. It's really, you guys are crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got to tell you.
it wouldn't be my first choice to do it, but the good thing is it's not my first business. So I
Yes.
think if this was my first business in this,
Oh
I
my
really feel
gosh.
for the people
Yes.
who are doing a business for the first time and raising a baby. I've got he's a toddler now. But yeah, I think that I feel for them because it's two really tough things to do at the same time. And
Yeah.
it still is tough for me, but I at least know what I'm in for on the
Hmm.
business side.
Hmm. Well, and plus the team, that makes a huge difference. So
It does.
too
It
many
does.
too many people start, and you didn't start in this way. You probably started this way in real estate investing and real estate training, but most people start their business, especially online or digital kind of businesses. They start as a solopreneur and they do everything, and then as they grow, they start adding people to it. So you started obviously the right way, when you hit the ground. So tell me a little bit more about doing that. Okay. So what lessons do you think you learned out of the real estate and training that allowed you to start this business the quote right way?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. And part of it, I mean, because I did have the option of selling some property and funding it, I had some money. So I knew that I could hire people from out of the gate. When you're starting, having payroll, like, and it's still stressful. Having payroll is absolutely probably the biggest stress I've ever had in business because you have a down month and you think, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to pay everybody next month. So it's hard. It's not necessarily the dream, but for me with the training company, the big thing I learned was that if I'm not working, I'm not getting money. Because yeah, I had courses and sure they would sell, but it doesn't take too long before you step out of the spotlight before sales decline. And I really wanted to have a company where other people were the experts and other people were not necessarily doing the sales up front. That's something I definitely do to start the company, but I'm setting everything up in a systematic way so it actually won't need me. In the future it won't need me. And that was really a lesson I learned. The other lesson I learned from my previous business was when I did want to exit, I didn't have a saleable business. The way I ended up exiting was I licensed the courses that I had created to people across the country, and now they've bought them out, so they own them and they can do whatever they want with them after 3 years of licensing them. But it was a little sad for me to build this company, to have it do very well, and then to not have it go on without me, it was kind of sad. So I really, again, that was another big lesson that I took into this business, is not that I'm going into the business expecting to sell it, but knowing that life changes and there may be a day where I want to sell it and I want to create something that is saleable. So those
Yes.
were the big things for me.
Wonderful. And there's a book I'm holding up right now called Built to Sell.
Oh, brilliant.
Um, and I love this book. I love the way he writes it in a storytelling fashion rather than just a, self-help, do this first and then do that here and then do this next and all that stuff. It's very, have you ever read it?
No, I'm
Oh,
just
you
put it
got it.
down. I'm going to.
You have to read it. Okay. It's Built to Sell by John Warrillow, Warrillow, and creating a business that can thrive without you. And one of the things he talks about specifically is to create that business that does not require you, so that you are not the brand. So personal brands usually can't be sold, right? I mean, who's
Exactly.
good? You can't buy me. It's my face. However, things like Jenny Craig, it's a weight loss brand that was sold to Nestle. So she's still the face of it, but she is no longer with the company. It still has her name because that brand is so known, but she is not running it.
Yep.
Was bought by Nestle. So that kind of goes against my brands you can't sell. But it's very different. The systems were all totally set up. And the teams were all set up so it can run definitely without her. But yeah, so it's set up the teams, set up the systems, set it up so that other people can sell the thing that you can sell.
Exactly.
And if you don't have it set up so that other people can sell and that it can run without you there, then you can't sell it.
Exactly. And
You
that
can
was
sell.
really
No, I'm sorry. Actually, there is something that he talks about in this book. You can sell it, but then usually you will have to be part
Go with
of that
it.
sale, and you'll have to basically be a shackled employee for a certain number of years. And if they lose some of the business during that time frame, you lose most of your profit or your revenue from the sale of the business. So yeah, you're doing it right. Definitely. Make sure that it can run without you. And I'm same thing. I would not make the business in my name, because nobody knows who I am. Why would they be part of that? Like Amazon is not Mr. Jeff. It's not his name of the company. It's Amazon. Same with Apple. Same with all of it.
Exactly.
So, wow. Okay. So those are amazing lessons. So how did you take those lessons then? And you had this idea for the book launch. For the book launchers. So people were asking you, how did you do that? Can you help me do that? So it sounds like you were kind of doing that on the side, maybe while you had your baby. Is that correct?
So no, I was doing it on the side before we decided to even have a baby. It was kind of something I was doing with the real estate education and training company. But it was one of those things where I kind of kept thinking, it kept coming up. Like but because I was running a training and education company, people wanted me to create courses and create training to teach people how to do it. And I knew inherently, like I was really getting tired of training and that kind of piece. So I didn't go that route. I knew I was connected enough to myself to know that I didn't want to create that. But I didn't at the time see another way to do it. And it's just kind of one of those things where as I kept researching, I would find that the industry was very fragmented. You could hire somebody to market your book. You could hire somebody to edit. You could hire people to design the book, and you could hire a ghostwriter. But there was not very many options that would take you from start to finish. And so as I kind of got into it, I kept thinking, well, why doesn't somebody especially because when you're marketing a book, the best time to plan the marketing is before you write the thing. So I kept wondering, like, well, how are these companies marketing a book that doesn't have a good marketing angle? It doesn't have a clear audience, and
if they don't even know who it's being written to.
Exactly. So as I got more and more into it, the company kind of started to form in the back of my mind. And then when I did end up getting pregnant, my initial thought was to go buy a business. I still had this idea in my head, but I ignored it. It's like, I got to go buy a business that has revenue so it can run. But, we were looking at, there was a company we looked at that we got close to buying, and it was embroidery. They made uniforms and things like that. And I just kept picturing my miserable life going to the store to see who'd come in and place orders that day. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Let's just start a new company.
Do what you want to do to start with. Why buy somebody else's stuff? Yeah.
Exactly. So, it was there. So I had been researching it, and I knew so much about what it really should be before I ever, just said, okay, planted my flag down and said, this is what I'm going to build.
This is it. But we're done. Yep.
Yeah,
wow.
But I took the year that I was pregnant to really research it, because I had the licensing revenue coming in from people, because I had already shut down my real estate training company. I knew I was going to move on to something else. And so I took that year to really research it and cement it. And because we actually at the same time, because we like to live life on the wild side, we moved from Canada to the States.
Boy, oh boy. You just want to, there are a couple of things on a list of high stress, points, and moving is one of them. Having a baby is one of them. Starting a business or changing jobs is one of them. So you kind of chose to just knock all those out, right?
Yeah, I mean, then everything else seems easy. You do all that at once, everything else seems easy. But yeah, so part of the visa process required that I put together a very extensive business plan for the business. So I took that time while I was pregnant and working on this visa to really cement everything in. So even though I only launched in 2017, people are always shocked at how much is already there and what is in place. And it's just because I actually did probably 18 months of work on it before it ever opened.
Yep. Well, then again, that forced you to prepare. And that's fantastic. So, okay. So what was the date that you actually suppose that you feel was the start of this business?
I don't have a specific day, but the official, well, I shouldn't say that. The first day is the first day somebody started working for me on a payroll, which was June 21st.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, because that is so scary.
It is. And I wasn't taking clients really yet. So I didn't take clients till August, but I knew I wanted to have my team fully into this and up to speed. So yeah, so in my head, June 21st is kind of that magical date, even though the doors weren't actually open on that day.
Got it. So June 17 to now we're actually less than a year from that. We're in April right now of 2018. So in that time frame, you hired your first person in June, and now you're April 2018. Can you share like how many clients you have, or any milestones that you feel that you can share with us about what kind of growth you've had in that less than year?
Yeah, I mean we're at 35 authors right now, so not where I wanted to be. Being totally open, I had thought we would have probably 45 by now, but the thing I didn't expect was the people that would start a project and not finish, which is crazy. I know.
I'm telling you. Okay, I got to tell you a story. Okay, there's a neighbor of mine. And way back in that 2011-12 time frame, when I wrote my book and started helping people self-publish, my neighbor, and I've lived in this same area, and so as he and his wife and daughter, I've lived here 20 years. And so right when we were out in the court, because we live in a court, and so we were out in the court talking, and we used to have these 4th of July court barbecue kind of things. And we were out there chatting, and I'm like, yeah, I wrote a book, and I'm helping people selfish. Oh my gosh. He says, I wrote a children's book, and I'm getting it illustrated. I'd love to have you help me. Well, that was 2011 or 12, and we're now into 18. And probably about once every 18 months, I get an email from him. And he lives 3 doors down, right? I can see his house from right here where I'm standing. And I get an email going, oh, gosh, I'm really still thinking about this, and I really want to do it. And so now I just got another email from him saying, I'm really going to do this, and I've got, what do you think I should do? I'm just about to he basically is saying I'm ready to put some money down and pay for self-publishing. And I'm looking at this and that, and he gave me some names, which I had never heard of. And and I said, so my response back to him was, okay, I got some questions for you. How much are you willing to spend? How much of your book do you think is actually done? And what is your time frame to finish it? And so he comes back with, well, my benchmark is like 2,500, I think is kind of realistic. And, and then he kind of fudges the rest of it. So I said, okay, here you go. I can put you in touch with some people because, of course, I still am in this world to a certain extent. I said, I can put you in touch with some people, but it's going to cost you a minimum of $100 just to get on the phone with them for 30 minutes to talk about what you're really able to do and you actually are committed and ready to do now. When you're ready to do that, let me know and I'll connect you because I'm done. I mean, we're talking, okay, you keep stringing this and everybody's got an amazing book in them, but it really doesn't matter unless you actually act on it. And the writing of it is only the very, 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 very beginning part of acting on publishing your book or getting your book out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm not as surprised that there are quite a few people that even pay money and still don't finish.
Yeah. Yeah. So I shouldn't be as surprised because I did do a training and education company. I should know this, but how
many people?
Yeah, I still was surprised at how many, has started the project and dropped off. So,
but I bet that's better. I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I bet that's better. I bet the number of people who actually start the process of publishing a book and finish, the percentage of people who finish, it probably is better than the percentage of people who start the training course and finish.
Oh, so much better. Yeah. I mean, comparison wise, we're actually probably flipped the other way around. The 80-20 rule is the other way in this case. So it really is a small number when you compare it that way. It just, in my head, it was like, if they say they're going to write a book and they put money on it, they're going to do it. But yes, I mean, life happens and I get it. For some of these people, life has thrown, lawsuits and cancer and things like that, real genuine, understandable reasons that the book is no longer important right now. Totally get it. Other people are probably just afraid of their own success or afraid of, actually saying the things they really believe and should say, and decide not to because they don't even decide. They make an excuse as to why they aren't going to do their book, but they're really just afraid to do it.
Isn't that funny? I mean, really, whenever anyone says I don't have enough time or I can't afford it, those are the top 2 BS excuses.
100%.
BS. 100%. It is BS. I'm sorry.
It is.
Power parents, and we call ourselves power parents, Julie, because if we've gone through potty training, business is nothing. Right? We can handle business. we can do this. Getting a child to actually sit on the pot and go when they feel like they should is a major accomplishment. Starting a business really pales in comparison. And then I got to tell you, going through your exit strategy and actually letting go and letting them make mistakes when you see them happening and they won't listen to you. Oh my goodness. Potty training has nothing on that either.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's hard. But anyway, we won't talk about that either. But anyway, so yeah, the just being able to finish that book and get it out to the world, you know, I can't describe the feeling until, just like you can't describe the feeling of having a child until it happens. So do most of the people that are wanting to do that, do they talk about those kinds of feelings, or is it really just the details of publishing the book?
You know, you've actually just inspired me because I probably am not reconnecting these folks back to that thought enough. You know, it's one of those things where we're really focused on the marketing and making sure that they're creating this awesome marketable book. But you're right. Like, and you know, having just gone through this, having a baby thing, you know, really, there are no words to describe it. And I really had no idea what it was going to be like. And so letting people know and it's true, your book is the same thing. Like the pride I felt, and, you know, even just my mother-in-law who she, you know, I think she didn't really know that much about me until she read my book. And then I think, you know, we connected better after that because she read it and she was like, oh, wow, you know, when she's quiet, I didn't know all these things were going on, you know, those kind of things. And yeah, you're right. So that you've just inspired me to reconnect them with that feeling that they don't even know is coming. But yeah, to help them keep motivated on those down days, because we're more focused on the business angle, but there is that strong emotional angle too.
And that might help some of those people who kind of, not necessarily the ones who have cancer and those major issues, but some of the others that don't have really many of those major issues, some of them that are giving some of those BS excuses. It might help get them motivated to get back into it. But
yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Anytime. That sounds wonderful. Because the books are. Oh, yeah, it really is no better feeling to see your book. It just, there's nothing compares to it. I mean, I'm not going to compare it to parenting because it's a different animal, but it is very much an accomplishment feeling and a very strong accomplishment, a very accomplished feeling.
Yeah, it doesn't fade. Like, you know, 5 years after my first book came out, I'm still incredibly proud of that book. And I still love it when somebody says, oh, I read your book. I'm like, really? You know, it's amazing.
And, you know, it is. And I actually got my little teeny little book. I actually had an experience where I met someone face to face who had read my book. And it was a book about my personal journey from to parenting and how I made a lot of decisions about my kids very early on because of these specific situations that happened. And I was very much advocating for one of the parents to stay home and take care of their child instead of putting their child in daycare. And that was my angle because of these experiences I had. And my situation is much more unique than most people. We were married for 15 years before we had kids. And so a lot of unique situations happened. And but I did get a chance to meet someone who had actually read my book face to face. And it was a man, and he was bawling his eyes out. And just saying how this impacted him and how he and his wife were going to get rid of their nanny. They were going to move closer to home. And one of them was going to quit their job and closer to their family. One of them was going to quit their job and they were going to raise their child who was only like a year old or 2 years old. And he was just totally overcome with emotion. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Wow. Thank you. That's amazing. Oh my God, I just impacted someone's life and I hope it was the right thing. Right? I mean, it really was a powerful responsibility. Because think about how many books we've read that have actually impacted our lives. And how really we need to make sure that the altruism we're putting into this book and the reasons that we're putting this information out there really are helping people make good decisions. And obviously I'm not going to force people to I can't force people to do anything. It's a book. I'm not there. I'm not twisting their arm. But it impacts people, and it actually impacts people's lives. And I never even imagined that I would have that experience. And it was really amazing.
Yeah, and I think that if you ask a lot of people, so many people will point to, one book or even many books changing the course of their lives or their business. And so books are powerful. And you're right, it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, it's like, think about this. You could have a book that could have a massive impact on somebody. And yes, on the other side of that is you could have a book that could have a massive impact on somebody.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I was probably more preachy back then because it was, several years ago. And even though I still feel those same things for my family, I would never presume to preach them to anyone else, right? To say, this is the way you should do this. And I hope I didn't have that tone. I don't think I did. But I was basically praising that this is what works for our family. And there is an option. You don't have to do it the way someone else says, whether it's me or anyone else. But yeah, that responsibility was very heavy. But at the same time, I felt amazingly satisfied and proud and humbled that I had actually impacted someone that way.
Yeah,
so
that's a beautiful story.
Yeah. So how do you do that? I mean, obviously, you've got to put that into your marketing, and I'm sure you already have, or you talk to people about how their books are going to impact people. Do you have a specific niche or a specific type of book that typically publish?
Yeah, we focus on nonfiction, and then typically we're working with authors, entrepreneurs, professionals who want to build a business, become more of a name, get media attention. That's really the focus that we have, and that's not to say those are the only books we accept. We have a few that are not in that realm. We have one that's a World War II memoir that we're working on. It's kind of a legacy piece, but it was a wonderful story, and it's still nonfiction. And so my team thought, yep, this is a fun one. We'll take it on. And then we have another fellow who's about to publish his book with us. He has a podcast on horror movies. And so this is a book on, making you love horror again. And it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And it still has a business purpose. His business is all around these horror movies. And the book will feed his podcast and vice versa. So, it has a business purpose, but it's a little bit different than your typical, here's how you're going to retire in 10 years kind of approach.
Right. Yeah. And it's basically what I hear you saying is the expert status.
Exactly.
This allows you to have that presence and that expert status in a nonfiction book that supports your business, or vice versa. You can spawn your business out of your expert status in the book. So that's fantastic. Yeah. That's wonderful. So have you looked at, okay, you're talking about less than a year, 35 authors, obviously published books, getting people, obviously the number one thing they think about is, I have to get to number one on Amazon. Right. So doing that as best you can. And then do you have only that suite of services, or have you now looked at, because some of those people have their books now and might need to start their businesses from their book or expand their businesses from their book, are you looking at expanding those services to other things beyond the book?
At this time, we're really focused on books. We do audiobooks as well. So that's kind of the next, once your book is done, we want to help you with audio, because that's really where the growing market is. And, with all the popularity of podcasts too, it's a really natural fit for a lot of people with a podcast to create an audiobook. But no, we haven't thought about the business side, but it's interesting because when you think through a book, whether you write it or a ghostwriter writes it, you have to think through your business strategy in such a big way that I think a lot of the business consulting stuff that I would not do this, I'm not interested in doing it, but if, as an extension, a lot of that actually gets done. That's one of the enormous benefits in writing a book, is that you have to think through a lot of things. And we work with our clients to create, trademarkable phrases and things, so you've got that kind of magic, MAGIC formula that is, you can talk about on a stage, or a quick, soundbite for a media clip. We work through all those things, which you should have for your business anyway. So a lot of the consulting that you would pay big bucks for actually gets worked through when you write your book.
All right. So I got to send quite a few people your way so that they can kind of, I was just talking to my son, and he says, kill two stones with one bird. Right? I mean, because that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, a lot of it really, there are tremendous benefits that happen. So yeah, business extension wise, I'm working on just getting this baby walking, and we'll keep
Yeah.
with the parent analogy. I'm not too worried about making it more complicated than it already is.
Good for
It's
you. See, I'm one of these that follows the shiny object, and I get all these ideas and I start, "Oh, I can do that." And I have to keep reining myself in and keep focusing on, nope, nope, we're not going to do that right now. We're going to do this. And you're right. That's a great analogy. I'm going to get this kid walking. Get it to school age. Then
yeah.
I can start thinking about what I'm going to do while it's at school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where my focus is. We are going to add some writers retreats into the mix of but it's still all supporting getting people to finish their book and helping some of the people that don't necessarily want to work with us to do all of the editing and layout and design and marketing. They just want to kickstart to actually make sure their book idea doesn't suck.
There you go. That sounds like a plan to me. My goodness, because we've started a lot of sucky books. We usually don't finish them.
No,
No.
and yeah, we have kind of two mantras, if you will, around the office. One of them is no boring books. So we're really pushing all our clients to, be unique and have great stories and even add a little humor to their books. Even if it's a boring computer book, we can make it more fun. And and then the other thing is just create massive success stories. So it's not just about the printed book for us. We really want our clients to go off and succeed in the world, kind of like you're talking about with the exit. With kids exiting, we want our clients to exit and be, enormously successful and well equipped so their book does everything they dreamed it would do for them.
Wow. Okay, so based on that, and then this year and the 35 authors as I was starting with, and the growth that you've had here, I'm sure that just adding more authors and getting your name out there and letting people know that they have this service available to them, to be able to do a nonfiction book or even beyond that, horror films, who knows,
Yeah.
and be able to expand their expert status in their business with their book. What piece of advice would you give someone sitting in the audience? Let's say there's someone listening to our voices right now, and excuse me, Power Parents, I need to apologize for mine. You guys all know that this doesn't sound normal. You guys will all know that my voice sounds a little bit off and I might sound a little nasally, and that's because I'm just coming out of I won't say wonderful cold. I'll say I'm winning the battle. It won a few of the skirmishes, but I'm winning the battle. But so there are people out there listening to our voice right now that might be sitting on the fence, and they might be thinking, wow, you know what? I know, like my neighbor, I know I have a book that I can write, and I know it would impact my business drastically. And man, if I could just do that, if I could just, I've actually even have it outlined, and it's sitting on my hard drive, and man, I just wish I could do that. And they're sitting on the fence, rocking back and forth, going, I really want to do that. What is the first piece of advice you would give that person to get off that fence and act?
Yeah, I mean, call book launchers.
Well, that's
But
it. There you
besides
go.
that-
All right.
Yeah.
Never mind. We're done. Bye-bye. Yeah. So besides that, but even prepare for that conversation. So
Exactly.
what's one of the things they need to do to prepare for that conversation, to come prepared to you?
Know what your goal is. There's kind of a couple key things you really want to know. One is what your ideal outcome is, and knowing you want to be a bestseller. Like, if you call me and say I want to be a bestseller, I'm going to go, why? Why do you want to be a bestseller? Because really, truly, bestseller does nothing for you. You got to be clear on what you want it to do. And I think if you focus on getting your book in front of the right people, it probably will become a bestseller in its category anyway. But I would rather you be excited because you landed 10 paid speaking gigs, or you have 5 new clients that are a perfect fit for your business. So I really want to know why. And so why do you want this book, and why do you care about it being a bestseller? What's that going to do for you? That's first. Second is knowing who your ideal reader is, and even bonus points if you can tell me what it is that you're going to teach them, or share with them that they really need to hear. And saying I have a message I want to share because it'll help people isn't enough. You got to go, okay, and really like think about it from an almost shallow perspective of how are you going to make them skinnier, richer, happier, more fulfilled, something like that. And if you can tell me all of that, then we're golden, and we're going to have so much fun building your book and helping you grow your business from there. So knowing those things will change everything. And that's really, whether you'd work with book launchers or not, if your book starts there, you're going to have a marketable book at the end of it.
Yes. Your book has to have some kind of transformation for the reader. Otherwise, it's unmemorable. It's really, I mean, like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, there was a massive transformation. Many of them. This Built to Sell book that I mentioned, a total transformation from start, which is the business totally relied upon the owner of the business and all around the owner only, to the business working without him. So, I mean, it has to show a transformation. Otherwise, people won't remember it. People won't learn anything from it. They can't learn. They can learn something. You can just teach them like you're standing up in front of a chalkboard. But really, what do they need to do to transform their lives with your book? And I can imagine if you have that's fantastic advice. Why do you want it to be a bestseller, or what do you want is the goal, and why do you want that goal? And then how are you helping people learn and grow and transform? Fantastic.
Yeah, and who those people are specifically.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, definitely. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And in the meantime, we will have in the show notes how to get in touch with you, and obviously booklaunchers.com, I would assume, and I actually don't have to assume. I looked it up while we were talking. Booklaunchers.com. You can check that out and go chat with Julie and her team. Obviously, it sounds like she's got a great team behind her, so you're in good hands. And I'm sure you can look at some of the books that they've been able to help bring to life, be able to see how yours might be able to fit into that. Julie, thank you so much for chatting with me and sharing this time. And we didn't really get to talk about your child that much, but at least the whole idea behind having a child at the same time as you're building a business, and some of the benefits that you had from there, being able to not have to focus so much on the business because you already learned those lessons. Now you can start with the lessons on the kids.
Yeah, you bet. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a fun conversation.
To get powered up for your day, just go to parentepower.com and listen to the over 200 episodes we have so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.